Hey guys, it's Kenya here, and if you don't know me, I'm currently a rising sophomore honors finance student at Howard University. And so today I want to talk about how to get into Howard University, but first I actually need to go into the city to do some work. So I'm going to go downtown and bring you guys along with me, and we're going to discuss how to get into Howard. So let's go. Okay, so I just did some editing work, so now let's talk about how to get into Howard. So I'm going to break up this video into 3 parts. So first I'm going to talk about the academics that you need, so test scores, GPAs, the classes that you should take, etc. And then I'm going to talk about the extracurriculars, so what extracurriculars should you have, how many extracurriculars, and all of that stuff. And then lastly, I'll talk about the essays, so just like some tips for making good essays. So yeah, let's get into this. So first, let's talk about everyone's favorite thing, stats. So according to Howard, the average SAT for this year's incoming class is a 1220. For the SAT, that's about a 20-point increase from last year's incoming class, and the average ACT is a 25. Now I think that a lot of people obsess over like what SAT that you should have, and this isn't even like a Howard thing, just in general, people are always wondering what SAT should you have, and I think that we put way too much focus on the SAT. Your SAT score is really just important in terms of showing that you can handle the course load and the work at Howard. Also, it's difficult to compare someone's GPA at one school versus another, and so the SAT was really created to kind of give a standard benchmark for how prepared you are for college. But like if you have a high SAT score but then you have like a really low GPA at your school, then that is a red flag for admissions. So your SAT score isn't the end all be all. Obviously you have to do well in school, but it's not just about how high you get on the SAT. Also, many universities around the country are becoming test optional, and so yes, your SAT score is important in terms of showing that you're ready for college, but it is becoming less important. A couple tips that I have for the SAT is to just take a lot of practice tests. Definitely get the book, and I would recommend that you take at least 5 to 10 practice tests, which may sound like a lot, but I think the SAT, it doesn't really test like how smart you are. It just tests how good you are at taking tests. So if you want to get better at taking the SAT, the best thing to do is to take the practice tests. So for like the grades that you should have, Howard says that the average GPA for its incoming class is a 3.66, and I think that's unweighted. But if anything, I don't think that you should focus on like the GPA that you should have. Just focus on how efficiently you're studying for tests. So like I think one thing that at least I did well in high school was that I really tried to study efficiently for tests. Like yes, I kind of paid attention to my GPA, but really it was more about like how can I get better at learning. And so really in high school, just focus on how effectively you're learning, because ultimately learning is a really important skill that goes beyond high school and college. And so definitely don't focus on your GPA, just focus on becoming a better learner. A couple resources that I have for becoming a better learner is definitely checking out a book called How to Become a Straight A Student by Cal Newport. It's a really good book for just learning like how to become a better learner, how to study better for tests, because a lot of people use like very inefficient methods for studying, and so that book does a great job of really covering how to learn better. Also, another good book is Make It Stick, Now, personally, I haven't read that book yet, but I know that it covers like the science behind learning and how to become a better learner. And I think just checking out those books, not even to get like better grades, but to cut down on your study time and really just focus on using more efficient methods, I think that's definitely important because, again, learning goes beyond high school and college. You're always going to be learning. And so cultivating that skill of knowing how to learn, that's really important. So definitely check out those two books. So for the classes that you should take in high school, Howard doesn't mention the average number of AP classes or honors classes that incoming students take. And I think that that's important because not everyone has access to AP classes or a lot of honors classes. And so it's not about how many AP classes you're taking, but it's really about if you're challenging yourself with whatever classes you have available to you. And so what you should really do is just focus on challenging yourself academically. So like if you enjoy a particular subject, then you probably should take the hardest class for that subject because you enjoy learning and you want to be challenged in that subject. So don't take hard classes to look good for colleges. Take hard classes because you want to be challenged in the classroom and you want to learn. Because ultimately, colleges want people who are intellectually curious. And so if you show that you're curious about learning, then colleges want that. And so don't take hard classes to look good. Take hard classes and subjects that you enjoy because you want to be challenged. Alright, so next I'm going to talk about extracurriculars. So how many extracurriculars should you have and what extracurriculars should you have? So let's discuss. So I think a huge mistake that many people make is that they try and do like all of these things to look good at colleges. So like you'll have someone that does like 10 extracurriculars or 15 extracurriculars because they think that, wow, colleges are going to think that that's so impressive that I'm doing all of these things. But really, what that shows is that you don't have any priorities. Also, colleges see past the BS. They know that students will put like a ton of extracurriculars just to look good for colleges and put that on their resume. So don't do a ton of extracurriculars for the sake of looking good for colleges. For extracurriculars, less can be more. Also, ultimately, you should be doing things in your free time that you enjoy. So for your extracurriculars, I would recommend in your freshman and sophomore year that you try a lot of different things. And again, it's not to look good for colleges, but to really find your interest. Like one thing that I regret is that I didn't try a lot of things in high school. I kind of knew that I wanted to play soccer, and so I kind of just did that. But especially during your freshman year, try a lot of new things and kind of see what your interests are. And then from there, once you see that like you're interested in this, then pursue that and become good at it. Also, a lot of people talk about like leadership positions, like you should be the leader for whatever extracurricular you're doing. And yes, that's important, but again, don't be a leader to look good for colleges. You should be pursuing leadership positions to really challenge yourself as a person, because having the ability to lead people, that's a really important skill to have. And so if you are a part of like a particular organization or whatever, then you should pursue a leadership position to challenge yourself, not to look good for colleges. And I'm really stressing that because in high school, there is a lot of pressure to do all of these things, get good grades, to get into a good college. And yes, getting into a good college is important, but really for your extracurriculars, like you should be focusing on really developing yourself as a person. So doing things that you really enjoy and building skills, because having skills is very important. Having skills makes you valuable. And so don't pursue leadership positions or don't do a particular extracurricular to look good for colleges. Do these things to develop yourself as a person and because you enjoy whatever you're doing. Okay, so lastly, I want to talk about your essays. So what makes a good essay and what should your mindset be when you're writing your essays? So I think with essays, the first thing that you should really do is try and empathize with the people who are reading your essays. So over 29,000 people applied to Howard for Howard's 2025 class. Now think about this. That means that the admissions team had to read at least 29,000 essays. And that's not even including the supplemental essays that you have to write. That's just the Common App essay. So Think about if you were in their shoes. Imagine that you had to read 29,000 essays. Obviously, you would want to read well-written and interesting essays, because think about all of the boring and poorly written essays that those admissions officers have to read. So when you're doing your essay, number one, try not to do it at the last minute. That's a big mistake that a lot of people make. Obviously, a lot of people tend to procrastinate, and for essays, you definitely shouldn't do that, because your essays should be thoughtful, and to write a thoughtful essay, it usually takes time and going back, revising your essay. So definitely don't write your essay at the last minute. Another thing is write the type of essay that you would want to read, because again, put yourself in their shoes. They're probably reading a ton of really poorly written essays, very broad, very boring essays. So in your essay, you want to make it interesting. You want it to really show your personal growth throughout your high school experience. And you definitely want it to be well written, because you don't want to make a bunch of little errors on your essays, because that shows a lack of care and a lack of preparation on your essay. So yeah, the main tips I have for your essays are, again, make it interesting, make it well written, and show personal growth. Also, you want your essays to be very unique to you. If someone else can easily write your essay, then your essay probably isn't good enough. You want your essay to be very specific to you. Also, my last tip for writing a good essay is that if you read through your essay and you can't get through it without picking up your phone, then it probably isn't a good enough essay. So again, make your essays very interesting. And I think the best thing is to empathize with the people who are reading your essays, because if you were in their position and you had to read thousands of essays, then I'm sure that you would want them to be very interesting, very good, very well written. So put yourself in their shoes and make sure that you write the type of essay that you would want to read. All right, so I've actually been here for a while and I need to meet with someone, so I'm gonna go home, bring you guys along with me, and I'm gonna share my last tip at home. So let's go. Alright guys, so I just got home and I have one final point to say. So obviously I want you guys to have a better understanding of how to get into Howard. That's why I made this video. But I do feel like it's important that you don't make Howard your main goal or your mission during high school. Yes, getting into good colleges like Howard should be one of your goals, but it shouldn't be your main focus in high school. I think high school is a time where you really get to explore yourself and you don't really have as much responsibility as you do in college or as an adult. And so it's a time where you should be taking risks and really learning more about yourself and focusing on having fun, but also growing as a person. And so to have a specific college as your main goal, I think that that's a mistake that a lot of people make. And I hope that, obviously I want you to get into Howard, but it doesn't matter if you do or you don't, because going to a specific school isn't going to make you successful. Yes, it can help you because you'll meet great people and you can make connections, but ultimately you control your destiny in life, and success is about hard work, but also a little bit of luck. And so going to Howard isn't going to make or break your life. So yes, it's important to want to get into good schools and get good grades, but really in high school you should be focused on just having fun, growing as a person, and taking risks and just trying a lot of new things and finding yourself. But anyway, I hope this video was helpful. If you want to learn more about Howard, I made a video about why I chose to go to Howard, and I also made a video about a day in the life of a Howard student. It was online, but it still will give you some insight on what a Howard student's day looks like. So feel free to watch those if you want to learn more about Howard. And again, I hope this video was helpful. I hope that it was worth your time, because again, I make these videos to help you guys. So yeah, I hope that this was helpful. Definitely let me know in the comments if this video helped, and feel free to reach out to me on IG if you have any specific questions. But yeah, that's it for the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.